In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove and replace a power steering pressure hose with a 3.5 liter engine on a Nissan Maxima. Take a 10mm wrench or socket and disconnect the negative battery cable. Loosen it up, set it aside. Make sure it doesn't pop up and ground out. Push it down as far as you can. Good to go. 21mm socket, remove the tire. Do the same to the other side. On the passenger side inner fender well, you're going to remove this inner fender cover. There should be 4 push pins. This vehicle only has 2. I'm just going to use a trim tool, pop these off. There should be 2 in the front here. They're long gone. Let's lift this up and get that out of the way. So the power steering pressure hose is mounted on the power steering pump right here through the passenger side fender well. You can see it clearly. Now it has the pressure switch on it. We're going to disconnect that pressure switch. We're going to cut any plastic cable ties that are there because we want to get the swing on that banjo bolt and take it out without getting oil all over, hopefully, everything. So I'm going to reach up there, see if I can take this clip off. So we're going to disconnect the pressure side hose sensor right here first. So there's a tab, push on that tab and pull. And then you can see the plastic tie up here. I'm going to disconnect that from the actual line. Here we go. Now with those 2 out of the way, we can disconnect that banjo bolt. Make sure you have a catch basin underneath. It's going to be a 24mm wrench. Fluid should start coming out soon, and it's going to be a lot of fluid. So make sure, like I said, you get that catch basin. Make sure you have no equipment you don't want to get dirty in the way. So now we're going to remove that banjo bolt completely out of the way and set it aside. So now we're going to remove the bolt to the power steering rack side. So it's on the other side of the pressure line. It's a 14mm socket or wrench. Try to get it over here. There we go. Let's see if we can break it free. Make sure you have a catch basin underneath. And make sure you keep it, set it aside. So now with a 10mm socket, I'm using a swivel with a 3/8 extension. You're going to remove these 2 bolts right here. It's a 10mm head, and we're going to get that bracket off. It comes with the new hose, so now we can see this other bracket up here holds the line in place, the return line. A little plastic piece. We got to take this out. So I can pull it down a little bit. I'm going to get a pair of needle nose, squeeze the 2 little tabs on it, and push up on that. Now we have to lower the car to get to the top part of it, behind the intake. We're going to disconnect this bolt right here. There's a mounting bolt. It's right behind, it's mounted basically to the back of the intake. So you can get it if you lay on the top of the engine, put your hand and arm through with a 10mm socket or wrench. Right through here like this. All right, and just a little screw. We're going to take that right off. Pull that right out. It's pretty small. We'll put it right there so I don't forget it. And then you can take your bracket and move it aside. So you might find it easier to come down through the exhaust area because of all these brackets. So just got to clear them all, and you got to clear that top O2 sensor in the rear manifold. You put your arm up through the fender well. Now we're going to remove the pressure switch from the old line and transfer it over to the new line. So I'm using an adjustable wrench because it's like around 27 or 28 metric, 1 1/4, 1 1/8 inch, and 19 millimeter on this little line holder. I'm going to break that free. Let's see what kind of line that's slot washer that's got. Oh, it's got an little O-ring. I think I see one in there, so we'll transfer that right over. There's a new O-ring. So with a pocket screwdriver, I'm going to remove the old one. I'm going to put the new O-ring on there. Grab the new hose and start it by hand. 19. Like I said, around 27, 28, or adjustable. Let's tighten that up. I brought over the banjo bolts so you can see that you're going to have to take these washers off, copper washers, and replace them with the new ones. So you're going to have one on the other side also of the power steering pump and one of the rack. Get 2 of them and 2 of those. This is the rack one. Two new ones, and the banjo bolts, set them aside. So you're going to take the power steering hose and try to pretty much set it up the way it's going to be in the car. So you want that bracket like this, like that. But you have to go behind the return line. So make sure you put that return line in the front of this hose. And then you're going to weasel it up. I'm going to put my arm through the fender well and give myself a little guiding help. Go up over that O2 sensor, over the top of it. Bring the line back down the other side. Guide it down. So now we're going to put the pressure line on the actual power steering pump. So I have the old banjo bolt. We got to put one copper washer on that side. You're going to fish it through like that. And you're going to put the other copper washer on this side. You see that little metal piece sticking out? That's a guide pin. There's like a fork right here. That's going to end up lining up with. Let's try not to drop that copper washer. So I use the 24mm socket on a real short stubby ratchet to kind of manipulate that bolt to line up and to get that pin in that bracket to hold the line there. And I'm going to start it slowly. So now we have our 24mm socket and a little stubby, and I got it started. You have to put your hand, like, you have to do two types, one on there, and I use this sensor to guide the line centered in the hole so I could start that. You want to make sure you start it slowly by hand so you don't cross thread. And we're just going to snug that up. There is no torque specs, but with anything like with a copper washer or a crush washer, once you bottom it out, I'm going to get a longer ratchet. We're going to snug that at least another whole quarter turn. Now clean that area so if it does leak, you'll know that it's from you not tightening it. All right, we're going to connect the pressure sensor. Just line it up the way it looks. The tab. Perfect. There is a clip on here, which I'm going to try to reposition like that. That's what it should look like. Now we're going to lower the car and put that top bracket together and then start again from on the bottom. Now to install the upper hose bracket, where it's right here behind the intake. Pretty much the same procedure. To take it out, we have this little small 6mm mounting bolt. Trying to deal with a piece of metal bracket that squeezes and you put a bolt through it. I got a pair of locking pliers and I'm going to squeeze that bracket and hold it so now my hand can do the other stuff it needs to do, not multiple jobs with one hand. So adjust it so that you can get a good squeeze on that. Make sure it just collapses that bracket. Then you can put the bolt through. Like that. Once I put the locking pliers on, it squeezed that bracket so I could really start that bolt by hand. And once it got started and threaded, I just took the locking pliers out of the way and almost done snugging it up. And just want it tight. It's just a bracket that holds the power steering line. And just like that. Now we're all set. So now we're going to take the banjo bolt with the one new copper washer on it, put it through the end of the pressure line, and then put the other end of the new copper washer on the other side of the bolt. Make sure it doesn't fall off. And we're going to have to use a free hand to manipulate this line to line up with the threads. All right. Now I'm going to get a 3/8 drive longer ratchet and really snug that up. Bottom it out and turn it a good quarter turn. That's what you want. Crush those little copper washers, make sure they seat. Now we can mount that power steering line with that 2-bolt bracket. You get the long 6mm bolts that come to it, and let's line it up the best we can. Now we can fill the power steering fluid back up. So here is the location of the reservoir. It's on the passenger side, in front of the strut tower. I'm going to remove the cap. I already cleaned it, as you can see. I don't like dirt and debris getting to things. And in this particular case, the service manual says genuine Nissan fluid. So that's what we got here. We're going to install, hopefully we have enough. I'm going to reinstall the cap, and I'm going to go in and turn the wheel, now the steering wheel, all the way to the right till it bottoms out, and all the way to the left. I'm going to do that about, let's do it like 5 to 6 times without it running, and that'll pull all this fluid down and get any air bubbles out. So after about the 3rd time, double check your reservoir, top it off if needed. So now with the tires not on yet, or if they are on, make sure the front end is off the ground. I want to just take my steering wheel and turn it real steady all the way to the right. Not fast. And of course the vehicle's not on. And then I'm going to retract it and go all the way to the left. That's center. Let's do it again. Center. One more time out to the left, and I'll go check the fluid. This is a good time to check for leaks. There's not much pressure, if any, but if it's really bad leak, it'll be there. Okay, center it. Now let's go check that reservoir. Connect your negative cable. Make sure it goes all the way down on that battery terminal end. And then 10mm wrench and tighten this up. Please feel free to clean your terminal end if it looks like that. I would strongly recommend it. Make sure it's not loose. So now that we know everything's tight, fluid's filled, battery's connected, we're going to start the car up. Put your foot on the brake. It's not hot yet, so it's right here, and that's perfect while it's running. It will expand when it gets warm, and then we'll let it cool down and make sure that it's at the proper level when it's cool. Now we can put the wheel back on. Install the lug nuts. This is a 21mm socket, and we're going to tighten it in a crisscross pattern or a star pattern. Wheel torque is 83 foot-pounds. Do it in the same star pattern. And don't forget to do the other side and torque it the same, 83 foot-pounds. When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.